Okay. Hello. We just finished with going over MCAT strategy, planning, etc. We're going to be moving on to the next category, getting letters of recommendation. So there are a couple different types of letters of recommendation. There's sometimes a school will have like a pre-med advising packet. Sometimes there'll be like a committee letter. And then sometimes you'll need to submit individual letters of recommendation. Um, so just double check at your institution what they have to offer. Regardless of the style, I believe you'll still need to speak with and develop relationships with professors. And number one, do not develop a relationship with a professor exclusively for the purpose of getting a letter of recommendation. Um, I just think this is a bad mindset, and you will probably not get a good letter of recommendation. I mean, you might get one, and it could be okay, but it won't be as strong as if you were genuinely interested in developing a relationship with the faculty. So, a couple do's and don'ts. So, don't just ask because you did really well. If you're not in a good spot, and that just happens to be how things played out, and you don't have those strong relationships, then I can understand why you would do this. But if you're in high school and you're watching this, or you're early in college, um, that's a general rule of thumb is don't ask just because you did well in the class. Either the professor just won't write it for you, or they will write it for you, and they just don't have anything really to say about you aside from the fact that you did well. Never demand or feel entitled to a letter. Um, you are asking this, and the professor is being generous enough to do this for you. So, entitlement is unacceptable in this circumstance. Don't bribe, that's illegal. And if you're caught, well, one, it's unethical, but two, if you're caught, your chances of getting into a school, medical school, vanish. And then the inauthentic relationship, that's what I started out with. So some do's, some positive aspects. While you're in the professor's class, try to develop a relationship with them. Go to their office hours, ask them questions. If they're responsive to email, email them every now and then. Um, it's very dependent on what the boundaries your professor has set. Some professors say, if you have a question for class, don't email me. Ask the TA or go to office hours or post it in a discussion board software that's available through Canvas or maybe Ed Discussion. And there your question can get answered. Um, so yes, make sure to read the syllabus. After your class ends, try to maintain a relationship with the faculty. Now, how do you do this? The method that I've developed is I don't want to say it's a method. It just kind of naturally happened. So for the different letter writers that I asked, I took an interest into what they were doing and I tried to become part of that interest. So for example, my first letter writer was a professor who I worked in a research lab in for about 2 years. And I just would talk to her a lot. She mentored me, exposed me to the research in academia, etc. And then I took a class with her. Um, so there wasn't any kind of like forced external follow-up thing. Okay, here's a better example. So my biochemistry professor took his class, thought his class was great. It actually sparked an interest in broader education. So for a little bit of context, I was a tutor for a while, took a break to focus on college, took this professor's class, and it reinvigorated my interest in teaching. And the professor, because of his unique style of class, was also really interested in education. I think his research lab focuses, even though he's a biochemist, focuses exclusively on education. And so I would follow up with him on that in a couple emails later, um, and just talked with him about that. And then later, he provided some programs for students to become more involved, such as helping teach the class. And I think he even hosted, I think he hosted a mentorship program where students could become involved with. And because of that, I've been able to sustain a longer, positive relationship with him. And his teachings have definitively influenced my perceptions of education. My letter writer my third and fourth letter writers were both involved, not as faculty per se. One of them is a humanities professor, but they were, they are both leaders in the religious communities that I'm part of. And because of my leadership participation in those communities, I've known them pretty much my entire time in college, and I've developed very strong relationships with both of them. And then the fifth and final letter writer came out of a scholarly interest. So I became really interested in cardiology and physiology research at the end of my sophomore year of college. And I found his lab, emailed him, explained why I was really interested, and had me hop on board. And I've worked in his lab for the past year, and I've um, been very happy with it. Um, he's not a teaching professor at the university, but um, because of my sustained interaction with all of these people, I've been able to not just dramatically um, change my perspective on life, grow as a person, make networking connections, but it's kind of just like this final byproduct was having a nice reservoir of strong letter writers. So it's kind of like if you're pursuing happiness, you'll never be happy. If you're just pursuing a letter writer, you won't get a good letter of recommendation. But if you're pursuing something greater, if you're pursuing something like purpose, achievement, I don't know, whatever drives you, then as a byproduct of that pursuit, you will hopefully become happier. In the context of our letter writers here, I pursued things that interested me. I pursued things that were important to me. And as a byproduct of developing the relationship with faculty, the letters of recommendation became an option. I never went into it with the mindset of, oh, I'm doing this to get a letter of recommendation. Okay. So going back to maintaining that relationship, sometimes it can be as simple as just scheduling an informational interview and asking them what their life is like, and just general advice. Faculty are probably PhDs. That means they have a doctorate. They've been in school for a long time. They've been around the block, and they have expertise in a unique field. So, for example, my second letter writer has a lot of expertise in education. So I could ask him questions about education, course design, um, political things relating to the educational world and funding. My fifth letter writer, the more recent lab that I work for, has a tremendous experience in immunology, cardiology. My first letter writer has a lot of experience in mentorship, also teaching immunology and biochemistry. So these are specific subjects that I have opportunities to ask questions on, and I have opportunities to ask for help on. I can gain their insight. And once you make that initial connection of kind of establishing a mentor-mentee relationship, it's all right for you to just tell them what you've been up to and how you've taken their advice, or maybe how you've had a different experience. Maybe they told you one thing, you tried that one thing, and it didn't work out. Um, s- so telling them about your experiences after that follow-up, will help create a longer term relationship. Okay. So that's probably the primary way of how I think most students have a good shot at making longer term relationships, to set up your growth, and then as a byproduct, hopefully a letter of recommendation. Again, don't expect a letter of recommendation. That's the wrong attitude. Um, but some other methods for staying in contact can be school dependent. So, for example, UCI has a program called the Undergraduate Student Assistant Program, also known as the Learning Assistant Program. And so sometimes if there's a class that I really like and a professor that I respected or wanted to learn more about, I would email them, say, hey, can I be a learning assistant for your class? And they would say yes, or they would say no. But once I'm involved in that, now I have weekly contact with this professor, um, which just makes it easier for me to ask those questions. I can show involvement, I can contribute to their class, and the professor can see, okay, this student has qualities X, Y, and Z. I like those qualities. And if you're ultimately going to ask for a letter of recommendation, then the professor just has more to write about so that they can write overall a stronger letter. The strongest letters will probably come from your longest relationships. So this would be people that you've been involved in their lab for perhaps a number of years. Most labs have weekly lab meetings where a number of, or sometimes the entire lab goes, sometimes not. Um, so you will have, as a proxy of working for them, just the most amount of interaction with them. And then through your religious involvements, if they're like staff or something, you could even have up to daily interaction with the faculty or the rabbi, imam, priest, staff, etc. And I'm thinking of what else I want to cover. This topic isn't too long. I think I've hit the major points that I've wanted to. Um, yeah, lean into perhaps identity related clubs, or that's not a good phrasing, but maybe clubs related to an ethnic, a religious, or a cultural identity. Sometimes you can maybe join a club. So, for example, Korean American Student Association, you're Korean, you want to, connect with the community, and then you meet a professor who is Korean. Um, and perhaps they're interested in being more in touch with the local Korean community. So you could invite that professor to have some type of joint event with your organization. Yeah, I think that's about it. Um, okay, thank you. Our next video will be about being involved or getting involved in research.